Come to order, please. This is a special meeting for the purposes of looking at the parking need assessment study for Scenic Gulf Drive. And we got Miss Tanya, excuse me. All right, we got Miss Tanya here. What she's going to do is begin the process of reviewing this over a 3-meeting period. And this first meeting, she's going to start covering these different sections. And at the end of each one of those sections, we will take your public comments. Now, we are here to listen to what you have to say concerning what she has found in the study and to take those under advisement as we move forward. So, Tanya, if you're ready.
I am ready. Get a pin out. Hello. Today we're going to be presenting the first 5 focus areas. Most of you have already seen this presentation. There have been some minor updates to the presentation based on the public comments that were received from our last presentation of the material. We had a 30-day public comment period, and we received a lot of great comments, and we have gone over those with staff. So what we'll do is the first focus area, we've got several exhibits. I'll go through those exhibits, and then we'll open it up to public comment. So Scenic Gulf Drive, it starts from the Okaloosa County, Walton County line and extends all the way to Highway 98. With the Scenic Gulf Drive area, you have 2 regional beach accesses and then 1 neighborhood beach access that does not have parking associated with it. This particular study was to assess the right-of-way parking associated with the beach accesses, and so and just look at what is available there, if there was property available to acquire to add any additional spaces. So when you look at focus area 1, the first slide just shows Scenic Gulf Drive as a whole. From the Okaloosa County line heading east. The first segment, it's a little over a half a mile, does not have any parking associated with it. Most of it is considered private beaches. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see, let's see here. There we go. You'll see this is your Miramar Regional Beach Access. This is where you have a bulk of the parking associated with Scenic Gulf Drive. On the north side of the road, there are 50 spaces. On the south side, you're looking at 190 spaces. I'm sorry. On the south side, you're looking at 140 spaces. So this area has quite a few spaces. There isn't a lot of potential in here to add any additional parking without going vertical. Something that the county could consider in the future would be possibly a parking garage on the north side of the road, but looking at maybe a parking garage with some type of commercial application on the bottom half to be a revenue generator, and then also considering making that a pay-to-park situation as well. There are a lot of ways to build parking garages and make them look like the businesses in the areas around it and not such a big concrete box. So this area, let's move on to the next one. So as you move further down Scenic Gulf Drive, this area, there's no parking associated with this area. It's mostly all private beach. And then as you work your way down, you've got the Seascape area adjacent to Whale's Tail, and the county had recently implemented parallel parking in this area. It works very nice. The one thing that we are going to recommend in this area is possibly a pay-to-park type situation, maybe some parking meters. But that would only be for non-Walton County residents. Walton County residents could, with their vehicle registrations, they could acquire a parking pass that would allow them to park, and that would be open to anyone in the county, not just people from the south. Yes, this is the Seascape area. So as you move further east, This gets you closer to the Geronimo neighborhood beach access, as well as, and then there is a portion over by Crescent by the Sea, or Crescent by the Sea Resort Quest. There's a segment there that is owned by the county that would be ideal for adding approximately 27 spaces in there. Currently, it is being utilized for parking. It is county maintained, so this would be an ideal place. But we would have to work with you would have to work with the adjacent landowner, that restaurant, to possibly get some beach access down there, because right now there is no public beach access in that area. So there you go. So with this particular area, we've got existing today, there's 294 spaces. We're looking at adding 27 parking spaces within the first 1 to 5 years, as well as possibly going vertical within the next 5 to 15 years, and then implementing the no parking in the right-of-way policy, and then parking in designated spaces only, which in this area, that's primarily what people are supposed to do, and that's enforcement's going to be really the most important thing in this area, especially with the overnight parking. And if you look at the pay-to-park scenario, especially for your parallel parking spaces, that may help alleviate some of the issues that you're seeing with the overnight parking. But we'll go ahead and open this one up for public comment.
Okay, is there any public comment? If there is, identify yourself when you come forward. We're going to do the limited amount of time for this meeting. We'll restrict it to 3 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Bob Sullivan. I'm a resident of Scenic Gulf Drive, and I sent each of the Commissioners an email yesterday on the subject of parking, but I would like to read it for everyone to hear it and to enter it into the record, if you don't mind. We know that the recent parking assessment, that in the near term there is little chance of increasing the number of parking spaces along Scenic Gulf Drive. The assessment team recommended, and I concur, that the right-of-way on the north side of the road should not be developed for parking. Furthermore, no parking signs should be installed and enforced. Since we have to make do with what we have, it's to our advantage to maximize the use of available parking. Essentially, there are only 3 beachfront parking lots along Scenic Gulf Drive: Pompano Joe's, the public lot north of the west entrance to Pompano Joe's, and the 105 spaces located in the area between the Whale's Tail and Surfside. I conducted an informal survey during the past weekend to identify who uses those 105 spaces. The results are interesting. More than 30% of the automobiles parked along Scenic Gulf Drive were registered to guests at Seascape, Wyndham Resorts, and Surfside. The majority, more than 16 of them, were from Seascape properties. At the same time, the private Seascape parking lot just north of the Whale's Tail was only about 65% full. And additionally, there were 3 golf carts with local plates, 3 vehicles known to be owned by employees of the beach services, 3 motorcycles, and during the afternoon on Saturday, 3 large pickup trucks carrying trailers for motorized kayaks. These 3 vehicles and their trailers each took up 2 parking spaces. Renters at Surfside, Ariel Dunes, and Majestic Sun have parking available to them within walking distance of the beach. The rest of Seascape, on the other hand, has residents and guests who reside a considerable distance from the beach. And I'm going to stop right there because my next sentence says Seascape management should seriously consider requiring increased use of their parking lot and consider providing a shuttle service. 20 minutes after I sent you this, I got a call from Jay, and to inform me that Seascape does have a shuttle bus. And I said, Jay, I've lived here over 20 years and never saw it. Well, I'll be golly, I saw it yesterday afternoon for the first time. So it may have come out of the barn. I don't know. Let me continue. These recommendations alone could provide an additional 25 to 30 spaces along the roadway each day. Surfside, Majestic Sun, Seascape, and Wyndham Resort properties should require its beach service employees to park within their properties, thereby releasing more additional spaces. I think that you got a message today from the president at Majestic Sun who said he has employees in his building who park out on the street every day, all day, Monday through Friday. He says he has no power to do anything about that at the moment.
Mr. Sullivan, your time is up unless
Okay.
there's somebody else in the audience that wishes to yield. We can make your email part of the record.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
what do you want to speak, you want to yield? Okay, I need your name so I can put it in the record. All right, okay, you got that? Okay. Proceed, 3 minutes, sir.
Parking spaces along the boardwalk are too large. Generally, each space is 20 feet long. On the other hand, there has no provision was ever made to accommodate licensed golf carts and motorcycles, which sometimes cause severe overcrowding in the parking spaces, and the parking needs to be re-engineered. Vehicles towing trailers, commercial vehicles, and RVs should be prohibited. Overnight parking must be prohibited. I did not survey usage at the lots near Pompano Joe's, but I'm confident by casual observation in saying that a high percentage of those who drive to the beach parking lots also reside within walking distance. I recommend the county undertake a formal survey of all 3 parking areas to verify my observations. I suggest serious consideration to the use of parking meters at all county beachfront parking areas. Parking meters along beaches in Florida are quite common, and there is a plethora of information available on the internet concerning the legality and use of these meters. Tourists and day guests are not deterred by parking meters. They are common at most beach locations in America. Revenue generated by these meters will pay for the installation, maintenance, and supervision of these meters. A rough calculation of revenue, which could be generated by the 105 spaces at the Whale's Tail, look like this. 2 meter uses per day, 4 hours, at $5 times 100 spaces equals $1,000. If you multiply that by the 224 days of our season, it comes to $224,000 just for those 105 parking spaces. My calculations envision a fee of $5 for 4 hours of parking. It should be noted that many Florida municipalities where meters are used, a permit program has been established for local residents. This can be an economical system for local day visitors to the beaches and also prevent the hogging of spaces by locals, since Florida law imposes a 4-hour limit on beach parking permits. I encourage you to participate or to pursue this idea. It will pay for itself. It will help mitigate parking problems on both 30A and Scenic Gulf Drive until someone someday figures out a way to create additional property to provide additional parking spaces for the ever-increasing number of visitors we invite to our beaches each year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bob, do you have the Florida statute reference on that
No, I
4-hour
don't, but
limit?
I'll send it to you.
Okay, good,
I
thanks.
just Googled the Florida parking meters.
Okay, thanks.
Bob, I have a question for you. The young lady brought up that, we might, if we put in parking meters, you go and show you've got a valid driver's license or you live here and you get a pass. What do you think about that? Or do you think everybody should pay the $5?
No, that's
for
why I
4
say I
hours?
think a permit system for residents of
Okay.
Walton County is a way to do that, just like you do with a beach permit down in Grayton Beach area. I don't want to really put numbers on this, but if you went to the beach one day a week at $5 in a parking meter, you would spend during the 280 days of our season $140. So if you offered a resident a yearly permit for $100, he's saving money. Now, if he goes to the beach twice a week, he saves more money, 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the way to go. But I got a complaint already from someone who received my email the other day that I go to the beach for 8 hours. Well, yeah, maybe you do, but then you need to spend $5 plus your permit. But I don't think that happens much. I would be surprised if 10 people in this room say they spend 8 hours a day at the beach. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments on this first phase? Seeing none, Ms. Tanya?
What are we going to go to do now? And I just wanted to make sure that, I think all these got entered into the record, but I got 3 or 4 emails from folks about the scenic Gulf Drive section. So who do I give them to enter, just enter them into the record?
Tina.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. There. Thanks, sorry.
And if I could get a copy of those, that would be great
Yeah,
as well.
I think I forwarded them to you, but
Okay,
just
if
in
you
the
have,
event
then-
that I didn't, send her a copy, yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to make sure we include a public comment section in the final draft, in the final report as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
So the next section is Dune Allen. Dune Allen, let's see here, actually, it's one slide down. There we go. So Dune Allen, basically, that area will start at where 30A starts and extends over the next 3 or 4 slides. This area, the first beach access parking area, is along Stallworth Boulevard, Highland Avenue. This parking, you've got 3 beach accesses in this area. Right now, parking is only provided at the Beach Highlands, neighborhood beach access, which is there's 6 spaces there today. Bullard Road, just the beach access there, it's a footpath. It does not have any parking associated with it. And then likewise, the Stallworth Preserve does not have any parking associated with it. It is a private road, and so it's gated, and so the general public typically cannot access that area. Now, whoa. Now, as you move further east, the Dune Allen area by Stinky's Fish Camp, and then going down to the Fort Panic area, there is today this area is a parking. There's definitely some parking issues associated with it. You've got the 30 spaces associated with the regional beach access, and then there's a lot of right-of-way parking that occurs along 30A and then up Woodward Drive. Now, right now, Woodward Drive, when we did the inspection, Woodward Drive, they were utilizing it for parking. Right now, they do have it. They do have no parking signs up there, so the parking in that area has been curtailed. But what we'd recommend is formalizing the spaces, taking the vision triangles into consideration in this area and adding parking to help better support this beach access because it is in such high demand. And you'll see that the parking people will park very far and to go to this particular beach access. It gets a lot of traffic. And we've even seen parking on the adjacent streets even further west as well. But Woodward Drive does have the space available for parking spaces. So we could look at, possibly a public-private partnership there. And Woodward Drive, that may be a place where you could look at maybe some pay-to-park scenarios as well. But the parking on 30A, that would just be formalizing those spaces and not really doing a pay-to-park scenario, just because it really would not tie into that particular area very well. It's not a very urban setting. Now, as you move further down, there are some additional neighborhood beach accesses. You've got the West Allen Loop, the Lake Causeway areas. You see a lot of right-of-way parking in these areas, but the driveways are very close together. We would not recommend adding right-of-way parking in this area to actually prohibit it just because of the vision triangle concerns. And today people do park. They do park close to Oyster Lake, but that does cause an issue with erosion, and we wouldn't recommend adding any spaces over by Oyster Lake just because of the environmental impacts that could occur there. Okay, so as you move further down, the Palms of Dune Allen area, there's no parking spaces required for these. They're neighborhood beach accesses today. There's no right-of-way parking issues. There's mostly just foot traffic accessing these particular accesses. So today, there is a total of 45 confirmed, these are formalized parking spaces in this particular area. We're recommending adding another 45 spaces along Woodward Drive and then along 30A associated with the Fort Panic area, as well as adding some additional signage. And this slide does say that we'd encourage local restaurants to use the public parking in the PM hours. And actually, the public is not they were not in support of that. So what we, after looking at that further, just encourage the restaurants to even give them some type of incentive to have them park off-site in more remote areas, possibly north of 98 and some of the larger parking lots available there, to get them off of the 30A corridor, their employees, and have them shuttle their employees down to the restaurants. A lot of restaurants are already doing that, and it has really freed up a lot of space, especially in Grayton Beach. They've started doing that. So, okay, so we'll open this section up for comments.
All right, is there any public comments concerning this phase? Okay, first hand went up with the gentleman in the back. If you'll come forward, that's you, yeah.
While he's coming forward, I got an email on that section as well.
Okay, state your name for the record,
My
please.
name is Jim Richard, and I'm the owner of Stinky's Fish Camp in Santa Rosa Beach. And thank you for letting me speak today. I have a couple of questions and maybe a comment, but the study looks at, I saw a lot of information about 15 years, 5 to 15 years plan, but does it go beyond that? I've lived in Destin and this area for over 25 years now, and I saw Destin develop, I would consider poorly, or the lack of development and the lack of infrastructure for their parking. And as we all know, it's kind of difficult to go to Destin this time of the year. My feeling is that right now we have the opportunity to put some of those facilities in just off of 30A that can accommodate that 20-year plan. And if we don't take some actions now, in 5 years or 10 years, that property probably won't be available. And so that's kind of the first step, is I don't think that this study goes long enough, and I haven't seen it identify what is actually needed for 5, 10, 15, and 20 years down the road. In addition, I realize Stinky's is identified as a parking issue hotspot, but if you'll go to those beach accesses on most peak season days, you can see where guests park from the beach access all the way up to the no parking signs at Stinky's. And they'll put the nose of their car right up to that no parking sign and won't go any further. And it actually accommodates a lot of parking spaces. And the study has definitely identified some of that as potential parking. I think that's a great step. Again, I don't think it goes far enough. I did actually acquire the property next to the restaurant to put parking in to try to alleviate some of it, and we've had some difficulties, and that parking system has never been approved. I'd like to say that it is still there right now, but it probably won't be for very long.
Are you talking about the one on Wood?
I'm talking about the Woodward Road.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And again, it won't stay there vacant forever, but it is definitely an option. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, did you want to speak? Come forward, please. State your name.
My name is Brian Christensen. I live at 220 Spotted Dolphin Drive. Question is she mentioned the Lake Stallworth beach access. 3 of the spots are parallel parking. We run into the same issue the first gentleman mentioned at Miramar. I wonder if it was a consideration, maybe you've changed that, if they have space to change to either for street legal golf carts to allow for the local neighborhood in that section, to allow more people to go to the beach at that access, because we do have a trailer. It basically takes up all the spots at that section. And also on both ends, I didn't mention on Dune Allen, there's a beach access in the west entrance over onto Allen Loop, And then on the far end, basically across from the Tom Thumb, there's another beach access there. I didn't see if there's any room for expansion or anything mentioned on that one. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Come forward, sir. State your name for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Goodson. I own a home in Gulf Shore Manor. Some of my neighbors asked me to come up here because they weren't able to be here today because of the meeting in the middle of the afternoon. Particularly Bill Banseri is pretty upset about some of the parking that's occurring at the Gulf Shore Manor, beach access there at Santa Clara, San Juan, Santa Clara, and those areas right there. There's a beach access in that location. And we don't object to the beach access, but the fact that the parking is being brought back north of 30A into the neighborhood is very disconcerting to folks that live there. We have grandchildren, we have children that live in that area, and those cars, particularly since that area is being used at night for restaurant parking, the valet guys are actually bringing cars up there and parking them there at night as relief parking for the restaurants, and it is creating situations where there's a lot of traffic in the neighborhoods that doesn't need to be there, and it's not being generated by the neighbors, and it's creating a hazardous situation. So we'd continue to ask you to look at limiting the parking for the beach access to the 30A right-of-way and south of that, and not allow it to intrude into the neighborhoods north of 30A, because it is creating a hazardous situation for the people that live there full-time. And really is, I don't think the intent of the commission to have that be intruding into the neighborhoods. So that's really what we're asking, is that you look at the study from that point of view. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. In the back, did you want to speak? Come forward, please. State your name for the record.
My name is Mike Shankman. I live at 29 Dune Drive, which is several streets up Hilltop Drive off of 30A, just to the west of Woodward Drive, which is where Stinky's Restaurant and the other areas, parking issues were that were discussed. I'd like to provide these pictures as a record. If it goes into the record, if that's possible. Appreciate y'all looking at this situation. Certainly hope we can get a handle on it before anybody gets seriously hurt in that area. I've heard several people talk about how dangerous it is. It is very, very dangerous. If you haven't been through there on a busy weekend, that stretch from Stinky's Restaurant right on down past the Fort Panic, Dune Allen beach access, it's extremely congested. Putting on-street parking there, I really don't think is a very good solution, because families trying to come and go from their vehicles, loading and unloading, trying to keep track of their kids within inches or even feet or in the middle of the road is very, very dangerous. Anybody that's been through Seaside on almost any weekend knows that it's very dangerous, people coming and going in between vehicles, so I don't see how that on-street parking situation would work. The problem with the parking at Stinky's goes well beyond Woodward. It definitely goes over into Hilltop Drive and up into the Beach Highlands neighborhood right there. There's pictures we'll show you. At least 24 cars parked along Hilltop, up on Baird Road, on the right-of-way, and on 30A, right there by the restaurant as well. There's fiber optic cables under the right-of-way throughout that area, gas lines, other utilities. None of those were intended to be parked on. And having parking there, I think, is destroying the right-of-way and creating, a dangerous situation for anybody that's trying to get from the neighborhoods down to the bike path, down to the beach park. I was there when those roads were designed. I worked with the engineers that designed those roads, and I know that right-of-way was not intended to be parked on. It's not wide enough to support parking. It's not stable enough to support parking. It's being torn up. It's our tax dollars that you guys are responsible for that is being tore up on a regular basis. I got pictures of the cars that are causing the problem, pictures of the damage that resulted from it. It's a difficult situation. I heard some good recommendations about off-site parking, shuttling employees down. I've heard that was one of the recommendations when the restaurant was approved in its current status, that there was going to be off-site parking for the employees, and apparently that hasn't happened. And apparently, every time I brought this issue up to the sheriffs, the code enforcement people, to the restaurant owners themselves, they say they're all very limited in what they can do about controlling
Okay. Sir, your time is
the
up.
problem there. So it seems to come back to you guys. We're looking for you to find a solution for this.
Thank you,
Appreciate your
sir.
time.
Yes, sir. State your name for the record, please.
My name is George McCauley, and I live at 184 Spotted Dolphin, and Spotted Dolphin is an extension of North Bishop. And I'd like to speak today about Lake Stallworth beach access parking facility continuously being overcrowded, and parking is very much at a minimum there, and we've got surrounding developments feeding into that access. And so I would like to see that problem faced and corrected either through an alternate parking facility or an extension of the parking that we have there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this phase? Ms. Tanya?
The next section is Gulf Place, and one thing that we have that is not, it's common with all these sections is, and we've heard it from the public, there's been a large outcry for off-site parking and shuttle service. So we have talked with other municipalities about how they, especially locally, how their off-site parking, their remote parking, their beach shuttles are working, and they said that it's a system that's growing. The city of Destin, they've been working on their shuttle system quite a bit, and that's something that at the part of our summary of the overall assessment will be to recommend a beach access shuttle. Now, one thing with the beach access shuttle is we would only recommend taking and providing the shuttle to take to the beach goers to the regional beach accesses, because a lot of the neighborhood beach access points aren't designed to handle shuttle buses. There's just not enough right-of-way to get down into these areas and have the shuttle safely turn around. But that is something that the county should consider, and they can have pickup points all along 30A and Scenic Gulf Drive to help alleviate, and really the overall problem is getting people out of their cars and utilizing the shuttle, and hopefully they'll use the shuttle throughout their entire visit instead of, and they can use, there's already a shuttle going that just recently started that's not a beach traffic shuttle. It is for businesses, but the public has starting to see that and starting to use that, and right now it's free, and right now everyone seems to be, there's a lot of good, a lot of usage that's starting to occur on that. But as we move forward to Gulf Place is also an area where there's a major parking demand. Today, there is parking along 393 on the west side. We'd recommend formalizing the parking along the east side of 393 as well. People do park there today, but it's not formalized. There's no infrastructure there, so stabilizing that area, making those formal parking spaces, as well as installing some curbs along the intersections along Gulf Place to get the the cars, to keep them from parking along that intersection, because cars will park right in the radius. It's a safety hazard. It's against Florida statutes to actually park within an intersection, and they are currently violating that. The fire department has said they've had a lot of near misses. The sheriff's department has said they have had a lot of issues with just there's a lot of issues in that particular area. So by providing vegetation, providing curbing to discourage people from parking in those areas, and then providing an additional parking lot, as shown in this exhibit, that parking lot right there will account for 84 additional spaces. I believe that y'all had utilized this parking for the recent concert that was there. I haven't heard how that went, but with this parking plan, you can definitely allow for a lot more spaces in this area. And then we of course would recommend limiting the parking along 30A. The right-of-way in this area is only 60 feet, and it adds to the congestion on the roadway, and there's definitely a heavy traffic in this particular area. And then Shell Seekers and Spooky Lane, the right-of-ways are not sufficient to add parking in these areas, so they would need to be limited to foot and bike traffic only. So with this area, today, there's 68 parking spaces. We would be adding 20 parking spaces within 1 to 5 years, 84 parking spaces, and that may actually be sooner. The county has already leased that lot, so for this year. So that's actually being utilized today. This plan would definitely help the issue, but having a shuttle system to support the Gulf Place and the beach accesses in this area would really help relieve the issue that you're seeing here, because it's just going to continue to grow. So we'll open this up for comment.
All right, is there any public comments concerning this phase? Seeing none, Ms. Tanya?
Now, as you move further down, we've got Gulfview Heights. Today, there is right-of-way parking utilized for this regional beach access. There is some capacity, not a lot of capacity there. And this access is becoming more known. Today, there are 46 parking spaces located within the public right-of-way, and that does extend from the beach access all the way up to 30A. We had some comments that they disagreeing with the amount of parking that we had shown in this particular area, but we worked with Public Works, and they identified that there's no restrictions on any of the right-of-way parking identified in this area, and so those 46 spaces are considered valid. And we'd recommend adding another 20 spaces to within the right-of-way. It does not conflict with any driveway or roadway vision triangles. But this would be an ideal location for a shuttle beach stop as well.
Is that,
Anyone? And that's the end of
okay, any public comments concerning this section? Seeing none, Ms. Tanya?
Oh, one more. There you go. The next area is Blue Mountain Beach. Now, Blue Mountain Beach has one regional beach access, and it also has some neighborhood beach access as well. With this one today, cars are currently there are no parking signs along Blue Mountain Road. It's discouraged. Parking is discouraged within the right of way. This is one of the smaller regional beach accesses. There's only 22 parking spaces associated with this particular access. What we'd recommend in this area is to limit the neighborhood beach access, keep those at bike and foot traffic only. There's no support facilities there, so keep those as foot traffic. But here, formalizing some parking in the right-of-way. There is sufficient space here at the intersection along the County Road 83, and then just a few spaces along that intersection there on Blue Mountain Road. It's already stabilized, so it would not take a lot of effort to stabilize that area further and provide some parking spaces there. And look through, and you can see the other neighborhood beach accesses. They're located close to intersections. The driveway spacings are very close together. So these areas, once the lots are developed, it would be a very big safety concern to have right-of-way parking in these areas. And so this is our final focus area. Yes, go ahead. Okay, so anyone have any questions, comments on this one?
Is there any public comment? Come forward, please. And state your name for the record, please.
Tammy Reinhardt. My comments are more general purpose. I think what everybody's saying, there isn't enough parking. We have to acquire land for parking, whether it's on 30A or near 30A. The shuttle's been great, but it needs formal stops. There needs to be parking areas. They're just going to pick up random people. Where do you go to the shuttle? And it needs to be supported by the county. It needs to be supported by well-placed and well-maintained parking lots. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the parking meters. I understand that may be the way we need to go, but I'd rather see a nice parking lot with a fountain and some benches and a nice place to wait for the shuttle, pay a fee for the parking and the shuttle for the whole week, and you're done. You just get a pass. Easy schmeezy. Even if some of that parking's farther off 30A, as long as we have an efficient shuttle that's coming quickly. Can't make people wait too long. They'll find their own. And I'd also kind of like to comment in general with all the ordinances that we've seen lately, it feels to me like we're trying to slap Band-Aids on problems that come up. At some point, I think we need to take a step back and see where we're headed. Where is capacity? Because 22 parking spots or whatever, if we had those today, aren't going to cut it. If we have 400 in 2 years, that may not cut it either. The land will not be available later. The options will not be available later. So I would like to see all of this tied together, and let's look at where we're going. Where is capacity? Then let's build to that. Let's not build it this year and change it next year and do it again and again and again. That's all I got for you guys today.
Thank you.
You're lucky.
Is there anybody else? Seeing none, Ms. Tanya, you got, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Didn't see your hand. Come forward. State your name for the record.
Amanda Schutte.
What was the name?
Amanda Schutte. And mine isn't really a comment as much a question for the people that did the study. A lot of what I see when there seem to be parking issues are businesses, neighbors, and things like that using what we are designating as beach parking. And I'm wondering if they're focusing on how these spaces are being used or just mainly counting spaces and assuming they're being used as beach access.
We did look at that, and that's why a large portion of the study has been encouraging local businesses to park off-site, remotely, not on 30A, because some people look at it as with their, not in my parking lot, it's not my problem, but parking off-site north of 98 would be ideal. Get them completely off of that corridor and then shuttling their employees down, because we did notice that. We did look at the times that they're being utilized. One thing, we tried not to just look at beach hours. This is after hours. How are these spaces being utilized? Because that is a large concern. And like for Scenic Gulf Drive, for example, a lot of the spots are being utilized by overnight patrons. And that's something we had to look at. And by limiting overnight parking, and by adding parking meters, that will help cut that. That'll cut that overnight parking down. Because a lot of people will come, they'll park their car in those spaces, and they won't leave all weekend.
But isn't overnight parking already illegal?
It is illegal, yes.
Okay,
Enforcement is a huge portion of this. So yes, enforcement is very important in making sure that the county has a clear understanding of what the current laws are, and then we're going to be providing some recommendations on how they can enforce these as well.
Okay. I guess my final comment would be, instead of making more rules and relying on enforcement, greater manpower, annoying the sheriff with all these, people parking where people don't want them parking, let them focus on big issues and do something so that it's not an enforcement issue, because everything seems to always be an enforcement issue. Plant a shrub, make it so they can't park there or something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Ms. Tanya, do you need any follow-up to this or close, or you done?
Well, that's pretty much it for this presentation. The next presentation will cover the next, there's a segment from Blue Mountain Beach to 395.
Yeah.
And so we'll be covering that area, and we'll just cover the same format as we did today.
Okay, thank
I
you.
do have a question. This is the first day I've actually had this book in my hand.
Yes, that is correct. That's the first day you've had the book in your hand. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
And is it available to the public online or where they can pick up a copy?
We can provide it to the county. Right now, it is not available online, but we can provide it to the county so they can put it online. And just keep in mind, it is a draft, and that we were apprehensive to make it a final until we have received all comments from the public.
I understand, but a lot of times people can't make a comment on it
Yeah.
until they've read it.
Okay, no problem.
You know,
Absolutely. We'll
so-
provide a PDF for the county to put online.
Okay. Anything else? All right, we will adjourn and come back at 4 for a regular scheduled board meeting.